More news starts now with a breaking news alert.
That breaking news just into the newsroom. A stretch of I-75 in Monroe County closed now after we've learned this is a deadly crash between a semi and a road patching crew. This was around 9:45, the initial accident this morning in the northbound lanes of 75 near 275 in Frenchtown Township. Sky 4 over the scene this morning. As you can see, aluminum cans there all over the highway. State police saying that semi slammed into two MDOT vehicles designed to protect road workers. The semi driver was killed at the scene. Several MDOT workers suffering minor injuries. State police and investigators remain on that scene as I-75 stays closed at this hour for cleanup. We'll keep you updated there. Also breaking at noon, Jennifer Crumley is not getting out of prison anytime soon. The Court of Appeals has denied her request for bond. Now Crumley's attorney is taking her appeal to the state Supreme Court. But prosecutors say she is a flight risk, and she has been since the day she was charged. Now, if the Supreme Court turns down Crumley's request, the case will most likely wrap up in state court. All right, it's another forewarned weather alert day out there because it is a scorcher. Finally, a picture that doesn't feel hot, even though so many of them have. Let's get a check of the forecast with Ashley as we get into this last day of heat.
Well, finally, the last day of this heat wave. As we take a look at the afternoon, we're not only tracking extreme heat as we rise back through the 90s, but we also will have some shower and storm chances returning, especially after 2 o'clock this afternoon, where we are watching a frontal passage that could create a marginal risk of severe weather. So it's going to be a hot and muggy afternoon once again. As we take a closer look at the extreme heat alerts, we're under that warning across the heart of the metro area, meaning Oakland, Macomb, Wayne counties until 8 o'clock this evening, and the farther outlying counties under that heat advisory. So just a shade cooler than where we are in the more populated areas. But as far as this afternoon, we do have a marginal risk for some strong to severe storms where damaging wind gusts and heavy rain will be the primary threats. We'll walk you through the timeline of what to expect coming up in just a few minutes.
Right. Appreciate it, Ashley. Now the surge continuing this afternoon for the suspect behind a double shooting in downtown Detroit last night. Police saying two men were fighting on Randolph and Larned around 10 o'clock. They say one man pulled out a gun, shot two people, the male victim and a woman who was an innocent bystander. We're told they are expected to recover. Now, police did get a surveillance video picture they want you to see. They believe this is the person who may have pulled that trigger wearing a blue hoodie, white sneakers. Investigators say he ran through a parking garage and got away. If this rings a bell, you recognize this person, you can call DPD or Crime Stoppers, where you will remain anonymous at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. New at noon, a Monroe County school district facing serious allegations of failing to protect a student from sexual abuse. This is a new lawsuit claiming Bedford Public Schools ignored warning signs of misconduct by a high school teacher and a coach who allegedly abused a 17-year-old student with special needs. The complaint states the abuse occurred both on and off school property between May and December of 2022. Attorneys saying school administrators failed to properly investigate the concerns and never filed mandatory child abuse reports as required by state law. The lawsuit seeks damages and demands new safety protocols to protect students. Cochran, Kroll and Associates now accepting claims from other families who feel they may have been affected by this. The former Warren police officer charged in a deadly crash last September facing a judge this week. James Burke faces manslaughter charges in the deaths of Cedric Hayden Jr. and DeJuan Pettis. Yesterday, lawyers, representing the victims' families released new surveillance and dash cam video of the crash. Prosecutors say Burke was speeding at 116 miles an hour, nearly triple the speed limit when he slammed into their SUV. The police car didn't have its emergency lights on, and police officers say the officers were not involved in a chase at the time. As we say, Fire Law releasing that video yesterday as part of a lawsuit filed by victims' families. Just hours after Iran rained down missiles over Qatar at a U.S. military base, President Donald Trump saying a ceasefire is in effect between Israel and Iran, with both countries confirming they've agreed to it, although in the overnight hours, that all fell apart. Let's get to NBC's Alice Barr with the latest.
President Trump says a ceasefire between Israel and Iran is back in effect and that Israel is not going ahead with a planned attack on Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office confirming Israel refrained from further attacks following a Trump-Netanyahu call on Air Force One directly after these comments.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what they're doing.
The ceasefire appeared to be unraveling almost as soon as it began in the early morning hours. Israel accused Iran of violating it by launching missiles and promised powerful strikes in Tehran. Iran denied violating the truce, accusing Israel of being at fault.
These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous.
President Trump initially announced the pause in fighting was in effect, with Israel and Iran both agreeing following a wave of Iranian attacks that killed at least 4 people in southern Israel. A senior White House official saying the ceasefire came together after Iran signaled it no longer wanted to fight, and President Trump told Israel's prime minister no more war. The president reached out to Qatar to speak with Iran, according to a source familiar with the talks. The rapid developments come after Iran fired missiles at U.S. troops in Qatar Monday in retaliation for U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend. The president saying the U.S. expected and countered what he called Iran's very weak response, and that no Americans were harmed. Trump administration officials pressing Iran not to try to rebuild its nuclear program amid reports the White House disputes that Iran may have moved some equipment and uranium from its nuclear sites before the U.S. strikes. The developments in the Middle East will take center stage among global allies as President Trump heads to the NATO summit in the Netherlands today. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
All right, Alice, back to a big case here locally. Prosecutors building their case against the man accused of killing a well-known Detroit surgeon. 34-year-old Desmond Burks is charged with murdering the well-known neurosurgeon Dr. Devon Hoover. Let's bring in Erica Erickson, who's live in studio with more from day 2 of this key hearing. Erica.
That's right. This morning, testimony centering around recorded phone calls, financial transactions, and surveillance video that prosecutors say ties Burks to the murder of Dr. Devon Hoover. Once again, there are a lot of orders put in place regarding concealing these witnesses. Burks' family member taking the stand once again this morning. She spoke about several phone calls she had with Burks. She says Burks told her once that his doctor friend was coming to visit, though she says he never gave a name, rather. After his first arrest, she says Burks asked her to gather all his belongings from a storage unit. That family member also mentioning again how difficult it was for her to identify Burks in surveillance video that prosecutors say shows Burks parking and limping away from Hoover's white SUV after the murder.
What was your emotional reaction when you were at homicide and you made those identifications?
Upset.
I mean, emotionally, how did you feel?
I cried.
You cried when you had to make those identifications?
Well, tears came out. I just got overwhelmed with emotion because I saw him.
A lot more happening this morning. We're also hearing from a friend of Burks who says Burks has still been trying to contact him since last Saturday. We'll have a lot more live updates on this hearing as it continues. You can head over to clickondetroit.com. Back to you, Jason.
All right, and we'll see you a little bit later in the afternoon for Local 4 editions at 4, 5, and 6. Erica, thanks. Royal Oak transforming 11 Mile Road, and this follows a lengthy city commission meeting that stretched close to midnight last night. Commissioners considering 3 redesigns, possible redesigns, including a dedicated bike lane, additional parking, or expanded green space. Well, the final decision combines 2 of those options, but not the bike lanes. The approved plan will reduce 11 Mile from 4 lanes to 3 add on-street parking, and create more of that green space. City leaders say the changes will improve walkability and stormwater management in the area. So here's what the plan will include. You will move curbs inward, and you'll see that added green space, as we mentioned, between Woodward and Main. Would also add on street parking to the north side only between Main and Campbell. Finally, they'll move the curbs inward and add the green space between Campbell and Stevenson. Here's what the mayor had to say as the commissioners debated all those options.
The cities around us haven't had any firm commitment. So we could build the connectivity, to Commissioner Herzog's point, that might be a really good thing, and then it stops at our border. You know what I mean? Like that would be a wonder. So I think her points are very, very valid, and there might be a creative solution if we talk to those other communities, and now that we actually have this in motion, it might motivate them to figure it out a little bit more with us.
The project estimated to cost about $9 million, with work expecting to start in 2027. A longtime public servant in Metro Detroit has died. Virgil Smith, who made history as the first black floor leader in the Michigan Senate, passing away. His family confirming he died from complications from COPD. Smith served in the Michigan House from 1977 to 1988 and then in the Senate until 2000. After his time in Lansing, he became a Wayne County Circuit Court judge, where he was the first and only black chief judge. Virgil Smith was 77.